Toronto Raptors trade talks have been leaked with the Brooklyn Nets ahead of this year's NBA draft as news has come out about the Brooklyn Nets' desire to acquire another lottery pick to facilitate their rebuild, and the Toronto Raptors have been a team they are talking with for one of these trades. Now, this is a very interesting deal that's being discussed here now at this point. So we're going to break down what this trade package that has been leaked is for the Toronto Raptors, what we can expect in terms of a deal actually happening between the Toronto Raptors and Brooklyn Nets, and get a feel for what the trade market is really looking like, because frankly, a lot of the discourse has been around those big name players, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the big names across the NBA, but there are a lot of teams interested in making moves this offseason. So lots of stuff to break down out here in this video. But folks, you guys have been crushing it, hitting that subscribe button as of late. Appreciate every single one of you that's tuned in. But you're part of the 47% of our viewers that haven't hit the sub button just yet. You're watching the vids, want to stay up to date with all the latest Toronto Raptors news. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because we have so much stuff to cover regarding this Toronto Raptors team. Shout out to everyone that tuned into live as well. That was a lot of fun getting that stuff going last night. But let's jump into it because, of course, we've all seen the reports now. At this point, the Raptors are big star hunting, trying to make some noise around the NBA, looking for a big fish. So that's had the Raptors linked to a lot of the bigger names around the league and stuff. But now there's been some talks around a smaller name, but with the Brooklyn Nets, that is an interesting deal, so to speak. So let's bring that up here right now. Basically, hearing the Nets may want to move up from 19 to the lottery, offering Cam Johnson and the number 19 pick to the Raptors or Rockets for either the Raptors' 9th pick or the Rockets' 10th pick, plus a bad contract. That would give the Nets 2 picks in the top 10, presupposing neither team would need the picks for a Giannis trade. So that is very, very interesting. The Nets are in talks right now with the Toronto Raptors, the Houston Rockets, in terms of getting a second lottery pick in this year's NBA draft. And in return, the team would get back, the 19th overall selection, as well as, these players here. We know the Raptors are looking to make moves, improve the roster, but would Cam Johnson be classified as a big fish? Well, let's take a look at it, because this season, he has had a sneaky good year for the Brooklyn Nets, averaging 19 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 39% from the three-point line, and shooting 45% out there on corner threes. He's just 29 years old, so a guy that's in the prime of his career, that's an elite 3-and-D player, and could certainly come in and be a very, very nice complementary piece around a Scottie Barnes, around an RJ Barrett, around Brandon Ingram, if he was just tossed in there in a vacuum. So don't get me wrong, I think Cam Johnson would be a very nice elite addition to this team, to this mix, but a few things make this a more questionable kind of move if this is the specific trade package that's being thrown out there in these trade negotiations, for a couple of reasons. And the first one is the big hair in the soup, so to speak, and it is very much the contract situation, because Cam Johnson making $21 million per year next year and $23 million per year the year after, so 2 years around $20 million, and that is a very reasonable contract for Cam Johnson. I think that is a deal that you look at and that's very, very good. But it would put the Toronto Raptors, if we traded out nothing, so again, it would be a bad contract coming back, but if the Raptors were to essentially make this move, make this deal, that would put them into like the second apron, not give back any type of salary. So that's something that would be very concerning for the Toronto Raptors, just for a Cam Johnson level player. So that's something that would be very not that appetizing for me, unless it's a multi-team deal and there's other things moving around, different pieces, in these trade discussions. The other part of it is, of course, we know the big name hunting, the big fish hunting. You deal away that lottery pick, that is very much an asset that is more valuable to the Milwaukee Bucks than Cam Johnson specifically would be out there in these trade talks and these trade negotiations. So if we're trying to deal for Giannis, if we're trying to deal for any of these guys, having that lottery pick is a much more valuable asset to, trade away, to acquire, to make one of these moves for, and, make things happen out there on that front. So Cam Johnson, while he is an elite 3-and-D player, a guy that would be a nice complementary fit around this team, it makes things interesting. Now, the one worry that has me, brought up, because as this report broke down that it's going to be a bad contract going back, is RJ Barrett considered a bad contract? Because, again, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's an absolutely insane take, but there's been some chatter buzz. Oh, the Raptors just getting rid of the deal, getting off of that money, getting off of this, getting off of that, whatever. And in a vacuum, right, Cam Johnson would probably fit the Toronto Raptors just as this play style better than RJ Barrett. He's a better three-point shooter. He's a better, floor spacer, a bit better of a defender and all that. But RJ Barrett has that star upside. Can have the ball in his hands, is a better creator, can create shots for himself, create shots for teammates, better slasher, better finisher around the rim, and has been improving in that area and is 5 years younger. So RJ Barrett, a little bit more expensive than a Cam Johnson. So again, it wouldn't be that much of a salary shed, but you would be down about $6-7 million per year. You slide Cam Johnson into that shooting guard position. You go down a peg out there in terms of that lottery selection. And that's the avenue, that's the direction you go. Would I be happy? Would I be enthralled? Would I be excited about that move? Not whatsoever. I do not want the Toronto Raptors. I don't want Masai Ujiri to come out and acquire a Cam Johnson if it comes at the cost of an RJ Barrett. I don't care if you value that as a bad contract, whatever. And some people I've seen throw out there too is Immanuel Quickley, that bad contract. I think I'd be too early to deal away Immanuel Quickley, deal away IQ at this point for Cam Johnson, but definitely for an RJ Barrett, I would not like to see that happen. So that's not that intriguing, but there is another guy on the roster that the Raptors have been interested in for a very long time, and that is Nic Claxton, who is a rim-protecting big man, can block a ton of shots, can do a ton of things out there on the basketball court, and is definitely a player that, similar to Cam Johnson, in a vacuum, be cool to add to the team. 10 points per game, 7 rebounds, 1.4 blocks per night, is a better shot blocker than, a guy like Jakob Poeltl or things along those lines, but other than that, he literally does nothing as well as Jakob Poeltl. So Jakob Poeltl is a better rebounder, better scorer, better finisher around the rim, more mobile, gets more steals, and honestly, there's not even that more blocks per game. Mids per game are a factor, but Nic Claxton is a little bit younger, but has regressed a little bit and is still on an expensive contract. So if we look at Nic Claxton's contract there at this point, 27, 25, 23, 20, it's nice that it goes down on the backside of it. So as he's there for longer, it's, the money that's coming out and affecting the cap doesn't have as much of an impact, but still it's, I'm going to put the Toronto Raptors over the Abraham. If we have to deal with Jakob Poeltl, I don't think Claxton want to come in and be the backup center. So if we're acquiring Claxton, we're moving down the draft, or we do something along those lines, Jakob Poeltl is gone, and I would not want to see that happen. I think Jakob Poeltl is a better player, better fit, just better all-around guy for this Toronto Raptors team here now at this point. He's had a phenomenal season last year, and frankly, he's one of the more underrated centers across the NBA. Now, in terms of a timeline for this deal, basically the possibilities here would not be limited to this scenario and discussions, whether internal or actual hard offer, and are unlikely to be formalized until much closer to draft night when moving parts start to fall into place. Of course, those moving parts allude to actual trade discussions with the big fish, the Giannis Antetokounmpos, the bigger names around the league that the Toronto Raptors, the Brooklyn Nets, all these teams have been linked to in recent weeks. But some preliminary trade discussions have gone down, have been discussed, have been leaked here now at this point, and they don't have me that excited, but definitely happy that Masai Ujiri's on the phones trying to get a feel across the league and get a feel for ways to improve this roster. So let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. You guys have best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out.